Hi friends! So this week, well actually I don't really know what this week is. This is gonna be kind of a weird video. Let me just back up. So a while ago, I was wandering around thrift stores, like I do, and I found this guy. Isn't he so cute? This is a Care Bear piggy bank. He's really cute, but obviously the paint isn't perfect, so I thought I'll get it and I'll just repaint it a little bit and fix it up. Then I was scrolling through Michaels.com to spend a rewards voucher because obviously, and I found this, which is also a Care Bears piggy bank. And I thought, I don't know, they're related, so I might as well make a video about them. I mean, what are the chances that I find two Care Bears banks when I'm not actively looking for them? So we're just gonna paint them. I don't know if this is gonna be an interesting video. Maybe not. I mean, it's gonna be interesting for me. And that's the important thing here. Let's just see what we've got. Alright, let's look at this guy first. So this is the Care Bear, I want to say Rainy Day Bear? Grumpy Bear? I don't think he's Grumpy Bear. He's something bear. Annoyed bear. He's dusty, and we can see that he's really dirty. His paint is kind of splotchy in some places. It's streaky and it doesn't have even borders. Yes, I got this at the Goodwill. His nose is a little bit chopped off. I think his eyes are like stickers, so I'm gonna try to be really careful around those so that I don't have to repaint them. He's also missing his little plug. Oh, what's that? Is that an eye staring at me? No, that's a hole. It really does look like an eye though. Yeah, so we're just gonna try to repaint him. First, we need to clean him off. I'm just using an alcohol wipe to clean him up really good, taking off that price sticker, and using a silicone stirring stick to really get that wipe into all the little nooks and crannies. I did look online to try and get more information on this guy. It says 1980s, but it doesn't really specify when it was made, but they all do seem to have the same color scheme. So I don't think that this was like a DIY made at home kind of thing. I think it was probably mass produced. I mean, I'm going to paint it either way, but just for those of you that would like to know. Oh boy, he's something. Well, anyway, I'm going to repaint this guy. And I think I want to stick with mostly the same color scheme, but I'm going to maybe like lighten them a little bit. So I've gone through and picked some colors that are sort of similar to what we already have. And then I might just need to alter them or lighten them up a little bit. I think that I'm going to go like a tiny bit lighter on the umbrella, but I'm going to stick with mostly the same blue for up here, just a little bit more violet because that's what the original Grumpy Bear looked like. He's a little more cool tone than this. Then I'm going to use the same dark blue and red for his accents. White is just going to be white, and I'm going to attempt to avoid his eyes because I really don't want to have to repaint those. So let's mix up some colors. I'm going to break out this crusty palette that really needs to be cleaned out. But I want to be able to save the colors just in case I need to go over them again or touch things up. Oh, I really got to clean this out. Okay, stop playing with that. Focus. I also need a place to test the colors to make sure that they're the right color when they dry. So here's what we're working with. I think they look Care Bear-y. I'm going to start by painting around his face really carefully. I'm using my tiniest paintbrush. I don't know what it is or where I got it, so don't ask. It's quite possibly a nail art brush, but it's just the smallest one that I could find in my stash. And I'm trying to really spread out the paint so that it's smooth and there's not any brush strokes or like those little lines between brush strokes, you know? That's definitely going to need another coat, so while I waited for that to dry, I'm just going to keep painting with this tiny brush. It's just easier than switching back and forth. Someone once commented that it drove them crazy that I painted a large area with a tiny brush, but there is a logic to it. It might not be a good logic, but it's my logic. Whatever that thing is below his muzzle, it was looking really weird, so I just painted that whole thing in. Maybe it was supposed to be his mouth, but in all the artwork, his mouth is on his muzzle. So instead it just looks like a really weird hole in his chin. Apparently, the Care Bears were created in 1982, and I was created in 1984. Well, I guess technically I was created in 1983, but I debuted in 1984, so the Care Bears were definitely in my wheelhouse as a kid. And this is Grumpy Bear. I looked it up. I don't remember which bear was my favorite when I was little, but Grumpy Bear definitely has my heart as an adult. I love grumpy characters. According to his wiki, Grumpy Bear is cynical, grumpy, and rarely happy. He often helps grumpy children. Same. And he is a practitioner of tough love. He's a Scorpio. I don't know why we need to know that. He's a big eater. Same. And his special talent is building and fixing machines. Not same. The thing on his tummy is called a belly badge, and it gives him the ability to create clouds to help him solve problems. I'm not sure what problems can be solved with clouds, besides it being too sunny. For this umbrella down here, most of the paint covered in like 2 to 3 coats, but after 6 or 7 coats on this orange and yellow, they were still looking streaky. So what I'm going to attempt to do, I haven't done this in a really long time, but I'm going to put a little cornstarch in it because that'll make it a little bit more opaque. What should I use to scoop the cornstarch? I really need to invest in a teeny tiny spoon. I'm just going to use a display fingernail instead. I'm going to use the tiniest bit of cornstarch because I really don't want the paint to get super chunky or lumpy looking. And I just want to do 2 more coats max of this paint. I need to be done. Found that holding my own wrist while painting really helped me steady my hand and keep those lines nice and even. I'm honestly having the best time painting this. This video might be a little boring watching me repaint something in just slightly different colors. It's not really a thrift flip, it's like a thrift somersault. But I'm having fun. Like, look how pretty that blue is on the bear. I am obsessed with that color. With the umbrella finally solid colors, I was able to move on to the little hearts, which for some reason they decided to just flip 2 colors next to each other instead of going in rainbow order all the way around. I went in with some white over his ears, face, and tummy, and I'm just painting over all of the features because it's easier than trying to go around them, and they're indented anyway, so they're not going to get lost. I tried to add a little extra fuzz to his ears and his tummy patch, make it a tiny bit more interesting. And then I went around all of the little spokes of his umbrella. Which, I can't imagine sitting on an umbrella is especially comfortable, if you know what I mean. Maybe that's why he's so grumpy. Last, I needed to add back in his features and his belly badge. I used this golden fluid acrylic for this, and I've never used them before, but I've heard that they're pretty opaque, and since they're so fluid, they won't get all chunky. So let's add on his eyebrows, his little heart nose, his whisker dot things. Are they whiskers? Do bears have whiskers? Then, in like every picture of him, he's got this kind of like, "Aw, man" expression, so I'm gonna add that. Then onto his belly badge. This blue is definitely gonna require more coats on the larger sections. Can't forget his little foot pads. And then for the red areas, I'm gonna use more of that golden fluid acrylic, and weirdly, the red only required 1 coat. After a few more coats of that blue, here he is with his paint job complete. And here he is after about 6 coats of varnish. He's looking so good. What a glow up. But we still have another bank to paint. This Care Bears mini bank. I got this on michaels.com for $5.99. Well, actually I got it for free because it got lost in the mail originally, so I got a refund, and then like 3 months later it showed up. Anyway, it's this purple bear that I think is called Share Bear, and it says it comes with a ceramic bank and 5 colors of paint. Let me just fight this box for a while. Seriously, why did it need so much tape? Wow, can you see how much wasted space there is in here? You could fit a whole second bank. Why do companies do that? Is it to fake us out so we buy it, like box bait? What a waste of packaging. I would have bought this anyway. We don't need to spend too much time looking at him because he's just a plain white ceramic bank. So let's get to painting. And in the interest of, well, adding interest to this video, I am going to attempt to use their paint, which I will say does seem to be a good match to the actual colors of Share Bear. The original Share Bear at least, but we'll get to that later. And even the belly badge seems to be pretty accurate with the placement of the hearts and stuff. I don't think you can really see that yet. But let's just start with this lightest purple. And I'm going to start on his head first, and I'm even using the little brush that came in the kit. This ceramic is really sucking up the paint. It's drying so fast because it's just slurping it down. And it looks good when the paint is wet, but then it dries and you can see how transparent it still is. This is after 3 coats, and it's still pretty patchy. Plus, I use like 1/3 of the paint in the little cup. So I don't know that even if I added some cornstarch, I would have enough paint for the entire bear. So I'm just gonna mix up my own paint in a similar color. Like I said, this is Share Bear, who apparently is a girl, and I've been misgendering her this whole time. My full apologies, Share Bear. She is a Virgo who loves to share. Her original design was this milkshake with 2 straws, but apparently it was changed to 2 lollipops over concerns that sharing drinks can spread harmful bacteria. Which, if you've ever hung out with a child, you know lollipops aren't going to be any cleaner. They'll lay those things down on every surface and pick them back up and put them right in their mouths. They'll drop them on the sidewalk and still try to eat them. But whatever. This bank is the original version. Thank the Lord. I hate when they reboot stuff from our childhood and try to modernize it and look all weird. Have you seen what they did to the Popples? What was wrong with the cute fluffy Care Bears? Why do they have to be all smooth and nipped and tucked? Rant over. Obviously, I was not paying attention and accidentally painted purple onto his white belly. But that's a problem for future rows. That's also why I usually record parts of my voiceover later, because I can't paint and talk at the same time, obviously. I hope this video isn't too boring. I was gonna do all of this anyway, and I took like a whole week off of everything YouTube related, so I am moving real slow. Plus, I have some more complicated ideas, like that rhinestone purse that I just did, that they're gonna take me longer to film, so I need to work on them in the background. So sometimes I might need to do simpler videos here and there. I switched back to the paint from the kit for a minute on this white. It's not going to cover completely, but I thought maybe I could do a few coats of that and save myself a little bit of my better paint. I don't know, what else am I going to do with this cheap paint? Actually, that's a good question. I don't like to throw stuff out if I think I might use it, so I actually have a whole drawer of these little craft paints that I got from kits and stuff. What can I do with them? Maybe I can use them to tone canvases, since they're just going to get covered up anyway? Moving on to her little milkshake, and I'm going to try to be really precise and do a better job than they did on the box, which shouldn't be hard. I'm still struggling with this second camera angle. I got a second monitor so that I could look at that instead of the tiny little viewfinder on the camera when I was trying to decide if it was in focus or not. And I'm getting better at that, but obviously not better at actually making sure my head isn't completely in the way. I'm going to try to add in the hearts and even these little detail lines, and I'm using a reference because some of the indentations got a little lost under my thick paint. That is going to need some cleaning up. I tried to mix up a dark purple for the features and outlines, and that looks like actual mud. So instead, I'm going to use a paint marker, which still will probably need a little touching up, but it actually worked pretty well. I am just following the design on the box for her features, so hopefully that's what she actually looks like. The straws are kind of blending into the white of her belly. In the character design, they're white with purple outlines, but there is no way I can do small enough outlines on her, so I'm just going to paint them in a really light purple instead. I almost forgot her toe beans, which are weirdly flat on the top, like she's scrunching her toes or something. Maybe she's grossed out by the bacteria she's spreading. Then I just need to do all the million little teeny tiny touch-ups that no one but me will ever notice. Then touching up my touch-ups. And here she is before varnish and after varnish. She came out pretty cute. She can probably only hold about $2 in her, but oh well. So here they both are done. One is vintage and one is brand new. One cost $3.99 and one cost $5.99. Kinda. One is half the size of the other. If you're still here, let me know which one you like best. And tell me what you thought of this sort of chill, easy project. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.